Hello, my name is Candace. Welcome back to Casual Bites. Casual Bites is a podcast where we take small bites out of big thoughts. Casual Bites is streaming on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music with full video episodes available on Spotify and now YouTube. Okay, I feel like I've been saying this for the past couple of times now, but I genuinely have not recorded in a really long time. The last time I remember putting out an episode was maybe a month ago, and I said that I was gonna restart and be continuous after that, but I clearly was not, and there's been a lot of stuff I was going through in my life. I just recently got surgery for my ACL and my meniscus, and I'm currently recovering. If you could see my setup right now, it's actually ridiculous because I have my leg propped up. And this is also a new background. The blank wall and the doors were just not really giving anything. And also the lighting was kind of ass. The lighting is still kind of bad now, but it's kind of hard to do without studio lights or having, a desk that has a pretty decent backdrop to it. And especially since I record a lot at night, I don't think this window is really going to be much of an issue. Also, this little grid thing is something that I brought back from school. I'm all moved out now, finally, and I've just been enjoying my life post-grad. It's been feeling really weird. A lot of my friends are gone. Just been trying to kind of figure out life and taking it day by day, especially with this surgery recovery. But moving on with today's episode, we're going to be talking about attachment styles. Attachment styles kind of are more commonly used in relationships, but I find myself just having attachment styles on a day-to-day basis. And just to start, there are 4 main attachment styles: a secure attachment style, an anxious attachment style, and 2 avoidant attachment styles. One of them is a dismissive avoidant attachment style, and the other one is a fearful one. For me personally, I definitely am an anxious, dismissive type of person. And I don't think I really was like that before. I was definitely a lot more anxious. A lot of things that people were doing, I would feel very insecure in myself. I would kind of question people's motives. And now that I've grown a lot more and I am personally just like more aware of myself and, who I am, I don't feel the need to be anxious about people. But basically, the definition of a dismissive avoidant attachment style is an insecure attachment style in which a person tends to protect themselves by limiting emotional closeness, trying heavily to rely on themselves, and also avoiding vulnerability. They can feel uncomfortable with too much intimacy and may withdraw themselves when they perceive emotional dependence or conflict. And so breaking that down for myself has been really important to me, especially because I feel like I was finding a lot of patterns in my actions when I was talking to new people and meeting new people. And it was something that was really sparking my curiosity. Nowadays with social media, a lot of things that I'm kind of thinking about or things that I have been maybe searching up just automatically pops into like my social media feeds. And so there was a time where I was getting a lot of these like TikToks and like videos just about avoidant attachment styles. After learning about that and researching it a little bit more, I kind of realized that it describes me a lot and is something that I may or may not have to look out for when entering new relationships. And it's also just, it helps because it has made me so much more aware of who I am as a person and what I like and don't like in certain relationships or friendships or whatever that may be. But breaking it further down for me, when I say limiting emotional closeness, I personally feel like it just is where I tend to hide a lot of what I'm feeling and a lot of my emotions, not because I don't know what I'm feeling, more so just because I don't want to hurt someone else and make them have to compensate to make myself feel better. I don't know where that necessarily has stemmed from, but I think a big part of it is me being a people pleaser and kind of a pushover. I feel that a lot of times in situations, I usually will sacrifice my own emotional needs to help someone else or to make someone else feel more comfortable. And I think that factors a lot into little things too, like when choosing somewhere to go, I will more likely want to compensate for the other person and for anyone else than maybe express what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. And me realizing that has allowed me to be a little bit more vocal about the things that I like and the things that I want, because it just isn't really fair to be the one that's always putting yourself down, even though sometimes I might have grown up to think that that was like the only option or the right option. Another characteristic is tending to rely heavily on themselves. This is, I think, the biggest thing that I see in myself and the biggest reason why I associate myself with having an avoidant personality or an avoidant attachment. I think that being an only daughter and also the eldest daughter has really shaped the way that I have viewed that, especially because growing up, I just have always learned to do everything by myself, not because my parents didn't have time for me, but it was more just that was what I needed to do in order to survive my childhood. I think that I have trained myself to kind of normalize that and to always want to do everything by myself and feel that that's what is necessary. And I see it a lot when I'm with friends, especially when we're doing something and it involves maybe like cleaning up or organizing or something with detail. I tend to see myself not wanting other people to clean up after me or to help me organize things because I feel like I like them in a very specific way, and that if I let someone else do something, I get really anxious about them not doing it right. For example, it took me a really long time to kind of, I don't know, like trust other people to help me clean up in my apartment. A lot of times I would just tell people to leave their stuff or leave their trash because I was scared they wouldn't clean it properly and because I was scared that it would be too much of a hassle for them. Now, I've obviously learned that I need to kind of like just relax and like chill out because at the end of the day, people are willing to do stuff to help you and do things the way that you want them to be done if you just ask and you make it known to someone else. Um, so yeah, a lot of that also has to do with communication, but that's like another topic. But even now, relying on others makes me feel kind of sick and physically uneasy. And I think another good example is like in group projects. When I had to do group projects, I would try to take most of the load because it felt like I had the most control over that. And I think that control is a big part of my life. I don't think it's control over others, but more so control over myself. I feel that just being able to know that whatever I'm doing and the outcomes that I have are just directly because of myself is really reassuring and really satisfying for me. I just don't really want to be let down by anyone else. So that's why I kind of put all that onto myself, because if I don't have anyone else doing these things for me, then no one can let me down because I know that I'm the one that's controlling. Moving on to avoiding vulnerability kind of characteristic. I don't really know about this one. I think this is the characteristic that I personally least relate to. I just don't really feel like I'm not vulnerable. I say this because I'm definitely more of an open book, but it could also be seen that because I am an open book to everyone, that I am not vulnerable at all because there really is nothing to really make me kind of vulnerable or like nothing that I'm really scared to talk about, which I haven't yet figured out if that's good or bad yet. Obviously, everything has a good and bad. It definitely comes to be bad when it's more of an extreme. But as of right now, I'm just gonna say that it's good because I'm very confident in myself. But anyways, to summarize, things that have made me realize that I am kind of an avoidant person is how I value independence more than my emotional dependence, how I struggle with asking for help because I feel the need to do everything myself, and also sometimes just suppressing my emotional needs to make someone else happy or to avoid making someone uncomfortable. And those really just do factor into relationships because, it's who you are as a person, it's how you're able to cooperate with someone else. And so looking at this avoidant attachment style in a relationship, this is usually like the stage or like the cycle that I go through. Um at first it's chill, it's really easy, and I think it's easy because there isn't much of an emotional pressure there. I don't feel like I need to pour a lot of my emotional needs into this person. I'm just getting to know them, making small talk, small conversations. But as the relationship grows and the relationship builds, I find myself kind of withdrawing a little bit because I just prefer to be alone. And I used to really not be like this, which really confuses me, but it could also just have been like trauma from like past relationships. Um, but I now really enjoy the time that I have alone. And so I think when I start talking to a person more or just being with someone more on a romantic level, I just immediately back out because I'm like, "Ugh, I just don't know if this is what I want. I don't want to pour like my life into someone again." Um, and so sometimes it will lead me to take longer times to call or text. And I mean, like, it's nothing bad. Like, it's not that I don't like this person. It's just I want to be alone. I want to be able to enjoy my time. I don't want to have any responsibilities with the other person. Honestly, I think I get more icked out the more that I realize that someone likes me. And it genuinely feels like a full body, like, rejection. Like, I feel so ill. And the more that I think about it, like, the more grossed out I get. And then the more I just, like, don't wanna be with that person, even though it could have been going so well, you know? Um, and then I kinda just, like, make excuses in my head. I'm telling myself that I like to be alone more often. It's always better when I'm alone or just, like, bits and bobs like that. Um, and so that's kind of just my cycle of relationships. I meet someone new, it's going good, I'm talking to someone and, okay, like, maybe I like them a little bit, but, like, not that much, and then, I don't know, the other person starts to, like, catch feelings or stronger feelings, and then I get icked out, and I'm just like, "Ugh, this is just not the vibes." And then I just end the relationship because 'cause I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my time talking to someone that I know I'm not gonna like. Um, and yeah, it's really cutthroat out here, I guess. But when I am in a relationship, I think that I tend to freeze up a lot when my avoidant personality is triggered, and a big trigger for that is conflict. I find myself freezing up a lot and not really having a lot to add when I'm in conflict. And it's not because I don't know my stance or if I don't have like a side to the argument or, it's more just like I don't feel like getting into this whole emotional fight. And I think I really base off conflict and arguments with emotion. Obviously, like, there's logic in there. I definitely think pretty logically. So it's hard because a lot of times I can kind of understand why the other person is upset logically, and I can, you know, empathize with that. But it kind of frustrates me when they can't understand how I feel emotionally. And because of that, I kind of just, shut up and I don't really want to continue this argument because I don't want to share my emotions and I don't want to keep expressing how I feel, because for me, like, again, it's a lot about control and how I would feel so out of control with myself when I'm in an argument. And with this kind of mindset, it also kind of connects a little bit with how I brush things off a lot. I also think it just has to do with my personality in general, but a lot of times when I'm upset about something and it has to do with the actions of another person, I will kind of just be like, it's fine, or like, it's not that deep, like, don't worry about it, like, I got it. And in reality, I'm just frustrated because, again, I'm just not in control of like these actions, and therefore, like, it's making me feel bad, it's making me feel upset, and then I compensate by just doing everything myself. Then there starts this whole spiral about how I'm the only person I need. I am the only one that's able to make me happy. And then I tend to just pull away more and more and more from people, having the idea that if I rely on someone else for my emotional happiness, then like there has to be something wrong, because in the end, they're just going to disappoint me and things are just not going to be done well. And, then I'm just left to do it by myself regardless. So what's the point of even putting that effort into people and, telling them all these things just for them to disappoint me? Avoidant personalities and these type of attachment styles vary from person to person. These are just my kind of experiences with a dismissive avoidant attachment style. And I definitely am not fully an avoidant person. I definitely have some sides of me that are a little bit more anxious, some sides of me that are a lot more secure. But overall, I tend to find a lot of my actions to associate with avoidant attachment styles, and a lot of what I compensate for does match this description. And so just knowing about it has helped me be a lot more vocal about things rather than coping or compensating. And genuinely just knowing more about how I operate as a person has, helped me be more confident. And it really reassures me that I'm just doing okay, and I think it is something that is worth it to kind of look into, and something that you should also be aware of, especially if you are wanting to get into a relationship, but also just how you deal with day-to-day things, daily friendships, meeting new people, or going into a new job, and all these different scenarios. But yeah, just to recap, go find out what your attachment style is. It might help you learn a little bit more about yourself. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. If you like this episode, make sure to follow and rate Casual Bites wherever you're listening: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Amazon Music, and send it to someone who might need to hear it. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at Casual Bites. Thanks for taking small bites out of big thoughts with me. I'll see you soon.